Hi, I'm Riyaz.
And I'm Yaroslav.
And we're here to talk about SharePoint and SharePoint's capabilities of reporting on external data. So Yaroslav, you've done some work around here. Can you give us some insight on how these things work?
Right. So, very good question. So, we're looking at the typical dashboard in SharePoint, right? In many organizations, they deploy SharePoint as their intranet. Mm-hmm. One of the most common things that happens is that, okay, it's not the first time they do business when they deploy SharePoint in their intranet, right? They probably have some external applications that they used in the past.
Yeah, like Excel sheets or Access databases or other applications.
Exactly, custom in-house developed applications that report or record transactional data of sales and things, and that can live in SQL database. It can live in MySQL and Access database anywhere.
Right.
Right. So the main challenge is that can you use SharePoint now to connect to that external data and surface that information in a meaningful way, so executives can leverage their existing investment in SharePoint to surface that transactional data.
Definitely, there's definitely lots of interest in there. So is there like a quick way where you can show us how this whole thing comes together?
Yeah, absolutely.
In like 2 minutes?
Yeah,
great.
Let's try. So what we're looking at here is already existing portal, but what I wanted to show you really quickly is first of all, to connect to my business data, and here I'm using SQL connection, I'm going to connect to the data source, and the data source in my case is SQL transactional data. It's a demo data from AdventureWorks database, and here we're connecting to sales order detail with some of the sales data. So I already have that information or proxy, the connection proxy established in my SharePoint Designer. Let's now take a look at how we can create the actual graph in SharePoint that connects to that data. So I'm right now on the typical SharePoint page. I'm going to edit the page, and I'm going to pick the web part from here under business data, chart web part. So the chart web part is one of the most simple web parts. As you can see, there's quite a lot of the other web parts, more advanced web parts. So once it's added to the page, I'm going to click Data and Appearance.
Okay.
And connect to my data. So in here I have a variety of different options, Excel spreadsheets, some of the things that you mentioned. I'm going to pick the Connect to Business Data Catalog, and from here I'm going to pick my data source that I created in SharePoint Designer.
And this data source stays independent of SharePoint, so the data is not actually coming into SharePoint, it stays external, and SharePoint will basically report data at real time.
Absolutely. The proxy that we've created in SharePoint Designer is just a set of queries that says, okay, this is how you get the data. Nothing is touched on your target database.
Great. So I can still keep using my applications the way I have been for years, but now I have a really cool reporting engine where I can do graphs and bar charts and things like that.
Absolutely. So here's your data already. You're already connected to it. I'm just going to click Next and pick some of the parameters that I want to report on. So one of the things I'm going to report on is quantity, the order quantity, and also the product ID. So I'm going to see how many products have been sold, by ID. So obviously I can specify some of the additional parameters. I'm just going to leave them as default. Click Finish, and there you have it. So the data now coming from this transactional database is surfaced virtually with no time onto my screen, and obviously for you it'll be probably something more meaningful.
Great.
This is what's possible in 2 minutes.
Yeah, for small businesses, I mean, anyone can use this. Few clicks and you have your diagrams up on screen.
Absolutely.
Great. So if people want to know more about this functionality of SharePoint, how can they get in touch with you?
You can either visit my blog, it's sharemuch.com, or also I work at KnowledgeTech.
Great, and I'm Riyaz and I work at KnowledgeTech as well, and you can contact me on rlakani@knowledgetech.ca. Thank you. Thanks, Yaroslav.